So the first thing we will talk about is problem and customer segments. And they are intrinsically linked to each other, so you can't do one without the other. And why are we starting here? Well, before I go into the details about these specific areas, one of the things that I want to sort of, talk about is don't ever start with a solution. This is something that a lot of people like me who are engineers do, where they have a great idea or a great solution, and then they go ahead and try and find a specific customer or problem that they can, try and fit it to. So it's really important not to start with a solution, but actually start with a problem. Now, when you think of a problem, it has to be a problem for someone. It's not just your problem, it's a problem for a particular customer. If you are a potential customer for the kind of problem you're solving, that's great, because that gives you some unique insight into that problem. But generally, when you're thinking about this, when you're trying to start a startup, you're thinking about a specific customer and not just one person, but a particular segment that shares some specific beliefs or specific characteristics, and then figuring out problems they have so that you're able to solve that. So the way we can get started is, I'll make it really simple. I'll use an example of a startup that we all know about, which is Airbnb. And when Airbnb started, they asked the same question. And so you can literally look at this very simple canvas that I'll create for Airbnb for you to get an understanding of how you fill out the whole canvas, but particularly the sort of section around the problem as well as customer segments. So let's get started. For Airbnb, the problem that they're trying to solve is, it's twofold, because it depends on the customer segment they're looking at. So for the first customer segment, which is the travelers that are looking to find the right place to stay at a low price, there's specific problems. So one of the problem is that it's really hard to find cheap and affordable accommodation options, especially when you're staying in a different city or traveling to a different city, and hotels are oftentimes not really accessible, particularly to backpackers and so on, but also hostels are not always the best quality, right? So there's always this gap in the middle where there are a lot of people that are looking for affordable options, but also some privacy as well. Because that was one of the problems that people have when they travel. And so I'll sort of write it here that hard to find accommodation that is affordable when you travel. And then that is specifically for the customer segment, which is, we'll call it travelers. Then the second thing to think about is what is a problem for people who have, say, a house and they're looking to, use that extra space. So, a lot of us have spare bedrooms, and we sort of keep them in the off chance that some of our sort of friends or relatives or someone else will come from another place and then will stay with us, or we use it to, create a library or something else. And so, but that's not always the best use of, that space. Specifically, when you think about the sort of timing of Airbnb, which is that it started during the financial crisis where people had these homes but wanted to make sure that like if they say lost a job, there was an alternative way that they could make money, and so they could lease out 1 or 2 bedrooms in their house to be able to make that extra money to both pay a rent or mortgage, but also just generally as a way to meet new people. And so this is our second customer segment, which is people having access to essentially new access to extra bedrooms and so on. And so the problem that they have is that they find it really hard to monetize those extra bedrooms or extra space in their house. And so that's where Airbnb comes in and is able to solve that problem. So as you can see, this is a good way for you to think about the problem as well as the customer segments both together, and then try and solve it in a way that is new and genuine, right? So we all know about Airbnb today, but when they started, there was no clear solution to this, and then they thought about different ways in which we can solve the problem.